we share the same ocean, we share the same seas around, and we need to have one mind when we are achieving, when we are fighting for climate change. So we need to talk together, collaborate, more collaboration between different island countries, because we are facing the same issues. We contribute less. We are facing a lot of issues, so it's always good to have countries in the Pacific to work together and to have lessons learned from different countries.
As part of their commitment to reduce national emissions and adapt to the impacts of climate change, ratified in the Paris Agreement, Vanuatu submitted their first nationally determined contribution, NDC, to the UNFCCC in 2016, with an ambitious target of transitioning close to 100% renewable energy by 2030, which was aligned to Vanuatu's National Energy Roadmap. Fast forward to 2021, Vanuatu has now successfully submitted their enhanced NDC to the UNFCCC.
For our first NDC, we usually have the energy sector, basically to do with electrification, to enhance our NDC. Now we also have the updated NDCs that we have currently, and they are from the new sectors. So that is waste, livestock, forestry, land transport, and other potential high impact sectors that we think that it's best we also get them in our NDC.
The updated or revised NDC that was recently submitted this year, it also captures the adaptation options as well, and it more or less focuses on basically the two important sectors, basically the water and the agriculture, which is noted being two of the important sectors here in Vanuatu. We deem that water and agriculture is the two most important sectors that drives the livelihood of Vanuatu people at the present time, and we're noting this, the impacts of climate change. Therefore, we want to make sure that these two sectors must be featured inside the NDC.
The Regional Pacific NDC Hub has supported the enhancement of Vanuatu's NDC by defining adaptation targets in two priority sectors, agriculture and water. Two adaptation targets were identified for its agriculture sector. By 2022, Vanuatu targets for 80% of agriculture SMEs and private sector operators to be able to generate sufficient income to cover essential household needs and services. By 2030, Vanuatu targets for 100% implementation of identified measures for enhancing the resilience of subsistence agriculture in a changing climate in the 6 provinces. Similarly, 2 adaptation targets have been identified for the water sector. By 2030, 100% of water climate vulnerable rural communities in the 6 provinces have developed drinking water safety and security plans, and are able to address water needs in normal and climate disaster and environmentally stressed times. Also by 2030, 6 climate-resilient water protection zones would have been declared, providing sufficient urban water supply. National stakeholders identified loss and damage as already occurring, observable, and is seen as a future threat, and in some instances existential. Stakeholders identified all types of loss and damage, which included floods, storms, hurricanes, salinization, and slow onset events. Assistance is required in terms of finance and capacity building in order to be able to address loss and damage.
Coming from the least developed countries, NDC Hub has really supported Vanuatu in terms of adaptation targets, and also it has revised our NDC to include other sectors. And we were financially supported by NDC through GIZ and other donor partners.
Despite how negligible Vanuatu's contribution is to the greenhouse gas emissions globally, the country is committed to its NDC targets and has successfully worked with a range of stakeholders to communicate its enhanced targets. But Vanuatu also acknowledges the challenges that are in store for them to meet these targets, and calls on developing partners to extend a helping hand to support the country in achieving its targets, to be able to create a more sustainable, self-reliant and resilient community.
We understand that the national circumstances of countries like Vanuatu, we have limited resources, and finance is also limited to support those interventions, given that the renewable sources of energy are quite a costly project. So with the support that will be provided for, that is to be made available through the partners from the region as well as around the globe, it will help system. So our major focus at this point in time is to make sure that we market those interventions to the partners that are supporting the government of Vanuatu and see how they can, with the support provided through technical as well as the financial support, to make sure that Vanuatu meets its targets. We know that it's an ambitious target. It's not so quite easy to, but with what we can, we will make sure that we have to achieve these targets anyway.